Hi, this is Ken. In yesterday's video, I talked about Tesla's full self-driving system, FSD, and how it's gradually shifting from a one-time purchase toward a subscription-focused model. That video received a huge number of comments. Honestly, far more than I expected. Thank you for that. So today, I want to do something a little different. Instead of adding more news or speculation, I want to organize how owners and investors are actually thinking about FSD subscriptions based directly on your comments. This video is not about deciding who is right or wrong. It's about understanding why opinions are so divided and what assumptions each viewpoint is built on. And just to be clear, you don't need to have watched yesterday's video to follow along today. If you want more background on why Tesla is moving towards subscriptions or why the stock reacted the way it did, I've linked yesterday's video in the description. You can always come back to it later. For now, let's walk through the comments together. The first thing that stood out to me after reading everything was how clearly opinions are split. But what's interesting is this: most comments were not emotional. They were thoughtful, logical, and based on real-world assumptions. Different conclusions, yes, but solid reasoning behind each one. That's why this topic is so fascinating. Let's start with the first major way people are thinking about FSD. This group bases their decision almost entirely on usage frequency. In simple terms, they're asking, how often do I really need FSD? Many comments pointed out that FSD is not something they use every day. For short trips around town, local errands, or commuting short distances, FSD doesn't feel essential. But on highways, long road trips, or extended drives, it suddenly becomes very useful. So from this perspective, a subscription makes sense. You subscribe when you need it. You cancel when you don't. That's a very practical way of thinking. This argument is especially strong in places like Japan, where daily driving distances tend to be shorter. Most people aren't doing long highway drives every single day, so the idea of paying for FSD only during certain months feels reasonable, even efficient. But this logic rests on one very important assumption. That assumption is that the subscription is truly flexible, that you can join and cancel freely month by month without penalties or restrictions. And that leads directly to the second major group of comments. The second perspective comes from people who are cautious about the terms of the subscription itself. They're not rejecting subscriptions outright. They're questioning the details. Just because something is called a subscription, does that automatically mean full freedom? Can you really cancel and rejoin whenever you want? If you cancel once, will it still be easy to come back later? Or could Tesla introduce new conditions in the future that make this kind of on and off usage less convenient? These are not emotional concerns, they're rational ones. We've seen this pattern before with many subscription services. They often start flexible. Then, over time, companies adjust the rules to make the model more sustainable for themselves. So this group of commenters is essentially saying, let's not assume the best case scenario. Let's wait and see how this actually works in practice. That's a fair point, and this is where things get especially interesting, because from Japan alone, it's hard to fully answer these questions, which is why I want to pause here and ask something directly to viewers outside Japan. If you're living in the United States and currently using FSD as a subscription, I'd really like to hear from you. Are you able to subscribe and cancel freely on a monthly basis right now? Have you experienced any limitations when trying to rejoin after canceling? If you have real-world experience, please share it in the comments. In this case, actual usage matters more than theory. In the second half of this video, we'll look at three more perspectives. People who see FSD as an asset rather than a feature. voices from users who rely on FSD daily and see rapid improvements. And finally, how investors are interpreting this move from a company and stock market perspective. Once we put all 5 viewpoints together, the reason this topic divides opinions so strongly becomes much clearer. So let's move on to the third perspective. This group doesn't see FSD as just a driving feature. They see it as something closer to an asset or a long-term right. In these comments, people often said something like this: if I plan to keep the same car for many years, wouldn't buying FSD outright be cheaper in the long run? Some also mentioned resale value. Historically, cars equipped with FSD were sometimes seen as having additional value in the used market. From that point of view, buying FSD wasn't just an expense, it was a decision that included future value. That logic makes sense based on how things have worked up to now, but this is where it's important to pause and re-examine the assumption. Will that same logic continue to hold in a subscription-first world? If FSD becomes something you access rather than something you own, the idea of FSD as a permanent asset may slowly fade. The market may stop valuing FSD as something attached to the car and instead treat it as a service that anyone can activate at any time. That doesn't mean buying FSD outright is wrong. It simply means we shouldn't rely only on past assumptions when thinking about future value. Now, let's look at the fourth perspective. This one is based almost entirely on real usage experience. Several detailed comments came from people living in the United States who actually use FSD on a regular basis. These comments were very specific. They talked about how each new version clearly feels better than the last, how the jump from version 12 to version 14 made driving feel noticeably more natural. Some even said there are situations where FSD feels calmer or safer than a human driver. When you read comments like that, it becomes harder to dismiss FSD as not ready with a single sentence. This highlights an important gap. In Japan, the ability to experience FSD is still limited, so discussions tend to stay abstract. But for people who use it daily, the conversation is very different. Their opinions are shaped less by theory and more by lived experience. This difference in exposure naturally creates a difference in perception. And finally, we arrive at the fifth perspective. This one steps away from the owner's seat and looks at Tesla as a company and as a stock. Some commenters pointed out that the previous model, where Tesla offered both one-time purchases and subscriptions, may have been confusing. From a service standpoint, it wasn't very clean. Moving toward a single subscription-centered model could be Tesla's way of simplifying FSD as a product. From an investor's perspective, the market reaction makes sense. Subscription transitions often make short-term revenue harder to see, and markets dislike uncertainty. But that doesn't mean the strategy itself is flawed. Stock prices react to the short term. Company strategies are built on much longer timelines. FSD moving to subscriptions can be seen as Tesla taking another step away from being just a car company and deeper into being a software and services business. Now that we've walked through all 5 perspectives, one thing becomes very clear. None of these views are wrong. They are simply based on different assumptions, priorities, and time horizons. Some people value flexibility, some value long-term ownership, some focus on daily experience, others focus on company strategy and valuation, change the premise, and the conclusion changes with it. That's why this topic creates so much discussion. If there's one key question that remains unresolved, it's this: will FSD subscriptions truly remain flexible over time? Personally, this is the part I'm most curious about. So let me ask you, After seeing all these perspectives, which one resonated with you the most? Did your view change at all after reading other people's comments? Please share your thoughts in the comments. They genuinely help shape the next video. That's all for today. If this video helped organize your thinking, I'd really appreciate a like. I post daily videos covering Tesla, AI, and long-term strategy, so if you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to join. Thank you, as always, for watching. Let's continue enjoying life with Tesla and thinking calmly about the future. And with that, I hope you have a great day. Before we wrap up, let me take a moment to introduce myself. I drive a Tesla Model Y, and at home, I've installed a Tesla Powerwall, so I actually charge my car with solar energy. I truly believe Tesla is shaping the future, and that's why I share the latest news and insights here on this channel. I'm from Japan, but I want to connect with Tesla fans all around the world. That's why I also create an English version of my videos. YouTube now lets you switch the audio into your own language, so you can enjoy it in whatever language you prefer. Most of all, I'd love to connect with Tesla fans everywhere so we can support Tesla together. I also share updates on X, so feel free to follow me there and let's connect. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.